Book? You got a book?
Have you read your book?
Oh yeah, the book that you didn't read for until you were
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't have pictures in it.
It's got some like graphs in it.
I know, but I'm more of a picture book kind of person.
Yeah.
Yeah, picture. I need a picture book.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Yes, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's all my daughter read until like 8th grade.
The Diary of a
She
Wimpy
just
Kid?
didn't really want anything other than the picture books.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so welcome back, everybody. I don't know about you guys, but I think today is going to be awesome because we're going to jump into talking to Scott about his new book, Culture is an Inside Job.
Isn't that the name of our podcast?
Oh my God, it is.
Is that a coincidence?
It's it's just not.
Was that an accident?
We just happened to say, hey, we're starting this podcast called Culture is an Inside Job. And you're like, yeah, and I just wrote a book. So
yeah, exactly how it happened.
Perfect.
Yeah, true story.
Perfect.
But no, we are so glad that those of you who choose to listen to us can be a part of our, as Scott says, our shenanigans. And so just diving into this today, Scott, again, we just would love to spend some time with you. First of all, again, congratulations, because although we want this podcast to be timeless, I can't let the day go by without congratulating you on your last official day at McGohan Brabender.
Woo!
Yeah.
How
It's interesting.
Not to go down this path, right? Because we could talk about this all day, but it matters because it's also a part of your story and a part of your book. So how is that feeling?
You know, it feels amazing. And I think it's because I've just had a lot of time. And I was sharing with you earlier, when both Taylor and Courtney went off to college, I did not prepare myself for those events emotionally, spiritually. And it was really hard on me. When your kids are in your house, you're used to going up to their room and then they're gone. You're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And my wife, even Lori, said, like, you didn't know this was going to happen? I'm like, well, maybe I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't prepare myself for what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. So I've had 15 months to prepare for what today was going to look like. Every day's different. So this morning I woke up and I'm like, okay, so this is the last official day. I've got to put a suit on. I've got a meeting at 4:15. Who scheduled that? I don't know why. And it'll be fun.
They wanted to hold on to you as long as they possibly could.
Yeah,
that's why.
And I've got everything out of my office except for a small box, and then I'll touch that back door today at probably 5:15, and
no looking back.
Drive home, and that'll be. It's funny too, is I did some math because I thought, hey, what are some of the routines that are going to change? Driving to work's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And
how far is your commute?
It's about 19 miles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if I drove to Dayton 35 years, every day for 35 years, and then I went to Columbus maybe 3 days a week for like 2 years, it's roughly 400,000 miles. And I was like, well, how far is 400,000 miles? And then actually the moon is 200,000 miles away.
You went to the moon and back.
So I went to the moon and back.
Wow.
Which is really kind of cool.
I love it.
That is kind of cool.
And then
I think that's your next book.
It is To the Moon and Back.
Mm-hmm.
To the Moon and Back. So yeah, but that'll change, right? So I don't, even when I drove, like I'll drive in the day and I'll like get off the exit ramp and I'll be like, okay, that's probably not going to happen for a while. Although the golf course is on the same exit ramp, so maybe that's a strong possibility.
It is getting warmer and nicer. Yeah.
I had to put a suit on today. I'll put a suit on tomorrow, and after that,
donate the suits.
I hope I don't have to. Mm-hmm.
Rebrand yourself, right?
Yep. Got rid of probably 50 ties. I probably still have a few left, but I really don't want to wear them. I just don't. So yeah, all kinds of cool stuff.
That's great. Well, we can't wait to keep up with you on this next chapter and all the good that comes from it. So.
This section sponsored by Lori McGohan.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, it's funny because she's not. So I moved in my office in my house, and I got a coffee maker up in my bathroom, like a little Keurig.
My best friend does that. I'm like, that's
Yeah,
pretty smart.
I know. You're right there, and you get it, and so I ordered another one. She goes, "Why do you need another one?" I'm like, "Well, I need one in
Mhm.
my office." She goes, "Why?" And I'm like, "I drink a lot of coffee, and if you want me to just keep coming upstairs and interrupting your sleep, that's going to get ugly fast." So I'm planning ahead.
There
But
you
she
go.
is not a morning person. So I'll get up in the morning and she'll be like, "No, I need my tea and 30 minutes of the Today Show, and then you're allowed to start talking." Now, my
This is the
dog and
good.
I, we're like, Colton and I are like best buddies in the morning. I mean, just all kinds.
He's
But
ready to go.
yeah, she is no way. Mm-mm.
Oh, that's funny.
So she might kick me out of the house after a while.
Yeah.
It is probably that's your new job, is to figure out how to navigate the house differently.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Men, for men, as long as we understand we have three places we're allowed to go, where we have I don't want to say complete authority, but we have more authority in these three places. One is the garage.
That's true. I'll give you that.
One is your yard. Not the flowers, the grass.
Yeah.
And the third is if you have an office, potentially that. Other than that, you have zero authority in your house. And the day you surrender that, your life just gets easier.
Well, as long as you have it, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it bleeds over into like the basement.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like, yeah, territorial, right?
Yeah.
My husband says he's in he's in charge when I'm gone and when the dog is gone.
Yeah.
He's in charge then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Whereas he's got full access to being in
she
charge.
does. She definitely is. Yeah, large and in charge. Well, great. Well, congratulations, Scott, and we're thankful we get to be a part of this journey with
I
you.
am so thankful for this. I was thinking
thank
this
you.
morning that what I wanted to say to you on LinkedIn was, while our time together has been short, it has been incredibly meaningful to me and most impactful. So the gratitude that I have, while everyone else that's known you for all these years could speak to that, I don't have that, but what I do have is very, very rich. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't know if I think Thankful Thursdays will continue.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they
I think
have to.
that
People are
makes
going to
perfect
expect
sense.
that.
Yeah, I think they'll just kind of get a little gritty too.
And Scott, I just have to say, I heard someone say the other day, they're like, you know what I appreciate about Scott is, the positions that you've held and, who you are and the success you've had, but you show up so authentically, like on Thankful Thursdays. Like you're just you, And they were like, I just really appreciate that. So
It's goofy. There's no, I honestly, I spent a long part of my life pretending because your opinion of me meant more than my own opinion of myself. And so a lot of things that I think about today, and actually, honestly, it's a lot of the book is around. I want to talk about what I struggled with, and I want to talk about maybe the things that I think about. And what I've realized is other people are thinking about those things too. And so, how do we bring that to life? Is we bring the good and the bad and the ugly, and then we can instead of being marbles in life, we can be grapes, and we can just smash together, and there's a lot of beauty in bringing all of those pieces together. And then I don't care what people think about me. I mean, I don't mean that holistically, but
right.
I'm just I am who I am, like Dr. Seuss says. And then the advice would be yourself because everybody else is taken. So
yes,
good luck.
I'm so curious about the moment when you had that realization. Like, it's easy for you to reflect back now and go, oh yeah, look, I was more worried about what everybody else thought about than what I thought about myself. But there was a moment in time that shifted. But hey, this is your story, so I'm just curious.
It's at the beginning of the book. It's the story. So I grew up, with a twin brother, and I love Todd, and we get along really well today. But when you're an identical twin, you just fight for your own identity. Your mom dresses you like, she put red cardigan sweaters on and white turtlenecks and khaki pants, and we looked alike. And everyone, everywhere we went, was like, oh, and you just want to be different. And sometimes being different is that fight to be different can get really ugly. So, and you just try to fit in. You don't want to be referred to as Scott and Todd. You want to be referred to by your own name. And then that kind of grew up in society. And then I was, big into looking around what other people had, what they drove, what they wore. And so stuff became a big part of my life. And I filled my soul with a lot of those things. And it wasn't gratifying at all. And then, when Victoria kind of called me on the carpet, 20 some odd years ago and said, today's my last day. I'd like to say I changed then because I was really virtuous and noble, but I wasn't. I was so arrogant. I didn't want anybody else to know what Victoria said. So I was like, now I got a choice. I could change a little bit and keep her. But it was that truth telling that nudged me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they say in life that the bottom's a beautiful place to be, as long as you know you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're there, you can dig or you can climb. And by the grace of God, I just decided to climb, and that meant putting down a lot of idols. That meant putting down a lot of ego and a lot of pride, and it took a lot of hard work.
Mm-hmm.
But that was 20 years ago, and then I've been involved in a recovery group at Southbrook, and that's been 16 years. So it's been and I get to go every Monday night, and I get to watch brokenness, and I can look at and say, there, by the grace of God, there go I. That's an option. I could choose right now to pull the shenanigans cards out and go back, but I'm having too much fun
Yeah.
changing, so I'll just keep going. That was a long answer to a short question.
That's a great answer. Thank you.
It is. It is. And it's such an important part of, again, your story and this book and so forth. And so I'd love to back up a little bit and just even ask you, and I know we were involved with when you were like writing this book and trying to come up with the title of the book, but where you landed in the title of the book, like what does that mean to you? What does that title, Culture as an Inside Job, mean to you?
That's such a good question. I think at the end of the day, and this is my opinion, but at least inside of an organization and even inside society and even inside of our homes and our relationships is, we put our best clothes on, we put makeup on, or we present ourselves in the best way that we can. And then sometimes we never go inside because we're so worried about what the outside looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're all alone and our head's on the pillow and we think about the dark things that are going on in our life, then we go inside and we get scared and we get afraid. So we mask it. And then we fill our lives with, we think things are going to solve those problems.
Mm-hmm.
And the beautiful thing about going inside is, at least for me, is I was allowed to go back to when I was a little boy playing in the woods all by myself, or when I like to draw. And there's things I like to do as a little boy, but society told me I shouldn't do those things. And actually, they didn't tell me that. Those were lies I told myself. And when we're allowed to go inside and say, maybe we remember two dates in our life, the day we were born, but the most beautiful day is when we define why we were born. So why we're here. And then we get to build on that. So it was really more around, it is your own culture, your organization's culture is not about ping pong balls and ball chairs and paint, color, cool stuff inside your organization. An authentic culture is what people want. They want the beauty, they want the brokenness, they want the vulnerability, they want the excitement, they want the dream, they want all of that. And there's only one place that comes from. That comes from authentic, humble, vulnerable, inspiring leadership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it's, you discovering as a leader your why, right, internally, and then also being able to then therefore show up for others and help them discover that for themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll never have it all. I've even told people, if you have it all figured, you should buy a helmet. And if you're really noble, you should buy everyone you love a helmet, because life is going to suck and it's going to hurt. So we're just always be a continuous learner.
Mhm. I love
Scott,
that.
go ahead, Karen.
I just had like this vision of you're responsible as a leader to create the environment for others, for them to find themselves. I think that's the big, for me, to define what leadership, like authentic leadership, servant leadership. We get confused about that sometimes, that we think we've got to give to everyone else, but we really aren't giving anything other than just the truth of ourselves, which gives them the permission to be their truths, right? And so when you think about that ability to come to yourself and do that introspection and live from inside out, notice how your organization shifted. Notice how now everyone else was able to start showing up more authentically and vulnerably. Like, I'm so curious about your ability to now see that from the mirror perspective when you started to make that change.
Yeah, I mean, even like, like my son Taylor, like he's on here helping us drive this whole thing, and I'm sure there's part of him that's like, I never met that dad. What's he talking about? Because for a long period, even as a father, I was a hot mess. As a husband, I was a hot mess, and people loved me when I was unlovable. People encouraged me when I didn't deserve it at all. And it's probably only been in the last, I don't know, 10 years where I woke up. So I think from a organizational standpoint, if you get really honest with yourself in regards to what inspires you honestly, not money, things, what inspires you emotionally? Like what wakes you up? Because my gut says is what wakes you up. If you were honest about it, would wake other people up.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so how do you bring that to life and give permission for people to bring their whole selves to work in the midst of miscarriage and, kids getting bullied at school and marital issues and financial fear and, addiction and all of the garbage, life's terms. How do you let people come into the workplace with life's terms in their pockets? Because they're coming whether you know it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ignore it, man, then people they're just fake, And then not only will they'll be faking your building. Here's the worst thing about all of that. They will take that fakeness back to their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So you will create plastic people.
Mm-hmm.
And plastic people aren't authentic. They aren't honest. Deep down, they're terrified. They're just scared.
Mm-hmm.
There's nowhere to go, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
nowhere else for them to go now. They don't have a place to be safe at home. They spend most of their time at work.
Have you ever been on a television set? Have you ever seen one?
Like a Disney World.
Okay. Yeah. Like
Saturday
a
Night Live.
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at the TV set, it's awesome. But if you're there and you can see beyond what the screen can see, you see all the wires and the tape and the
Mm-hmm.
and
garbage, like you said, all the
yeah,
nonsense,
like all of the other stuff. And then they say lights, camera, action, and then all the beauty shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all people see. And there's like, oh, that's what I want. It's like, no, but that's not real.
Mm-hmm.
What's real if you panned out and you saw like all of the shenanigans, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the person standing there saying, please clap, applause.
Mm-hmm.
They're holding up the signs.
Cue cards.
Yeah, laugh, fake laughter. Like they push a button and they laugh. And that's just, I don't know, that's just ugly.
Karen, I love that you took that, our conversation deeper as usual, because, when I think about, and I would love for our audience to really hear this too, and I think this was your point in bringing this up, is When I'm facilitating, especially like group sessions, so many times people come into those sessions and, and they're hearing it all. And the first thing, and me too, right? Like it's normal and it's human of us. We go into those and we're like, oh, such and such could really use this. And so instead of that, I invite them to just think about you right now. So talking about going inside, right? And that just like our listeners today, um, until you've really had that opportunity to take this in for you and be able to step back and say, how am I showing up? How am I responding? How am I making a difference or not? Right? All of those things for you personally. And both of you have said this, how in the world are we supposed to show up for anybody else? And so when we can do that, then there's the opportunity to step in our most authentic way to truly help other people go inside and so forth. So, yeah. So I think it's just allowing ourselves to know, I think we do it for different reasons, but knowing it's okay to spend time on us.
I was
Right.
with it when I first got involved in like a recovery spiritually and emotionally. I had someone come up to me and said, I want you to pray this prayer. And it's exactly what you just said, Wendy. And it was, Father, please remove everything I know about me, others, and this world.
Yeah.
And open my heart and mind to a new experience about me, others, this world, and you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. It's like, well, it doesn't have to make sense. Just do it. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, right. I'm like, all right, I'll just do it. But what's really cool is when we do that, judgment goes away,
Mm-hmm.
judgment of others, and a new opportunity for learning or seeing things differently.
Yes.
Um, and I tell people all the time, like I'm on the recruitment committee of faith. No faith is faith in something.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not on the membership committee. I'm on the recruitment committee. So it
Yeah.
is just opens your eyes and your hearts to a new experience.
Um, I I say this all the time, but curiosity is your number one tool. That's exactly what you're just saying. It's emptying your cup, coming to every experience, not being the knower, but being the learner.
Mm-hmm.
And when we can shift our focus, we may have some intelligence, right? We may be confident in that level of competence, but being just as confident in our incompetence, that is always an opportunity to learn. And so, Wendy, we're only ever always learning.
Yes.
And so, when we can come and have an empty cup, like we're always open, we're always curious. There's no judgment. There's no room for judgment there. Right? There's no room for fear-based thoughts anymore there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, another question that I have as we're just talking again, Scott, about your book and so forth is just overall, what do you hope people get out of this book, right? Like we've just talked about probably some of the things that are really important to you, but if you had to just say like what comes up for you and what's on your heart, what do you hope people get out of this book?
Yeah, I think, and you brought it up earlier. I think a lot of people say, well, I know somebody who needs this book,
Mm,
right? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. But really what I hope somebody does, I mean, we were all, so you're two like adult women, right? And I'm an adult male, but when you were little, you had dreams of who you wanted to be and
mhm,
big dreams of what life was going to look like. And then life got squirrely. And at the end of the day, I think here's what we do. We take our bravery and our courage and our ability to bring beauty in this world and we lock it in a room. And today, I think the gift of vulnerability and transparency allows us to understand that that door is locked from the inside and we have the key and we can unlock it. We can unlock it when we're 10. We can unlock it when we're 70.
mhm,
We have the ability to unlock that door. Now, whether it's, an organization that wants to do it, and obviously, it's about organizational culture but at the end of the day, what I have a lot more passion about individual culture,
mhm.
about that individual and that person, and giving people the permission to unlock that room and just let that beauty come alive.
Well, because that is what, talking about organizational culture, right? The
Just takes one.
individual culture is what
It
is
just
going
takes one.
to create that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to help us figure this out together, right? In some upcoming episodes, right, Scott?
I doubt it. No, I'm kidding.
I hope so. They
No,
do
but
too.
yeah, but you got like, you know, too, and like your skill set and, you know, the, the knowledge and expertise that you bring like to the table, like you're facilitating a lot of those conversations with different organizations, different people.
Mhm.
So maybe, you know, my expertise is like what I saw at McGohan Brabender and my own transformation, but where the two of you bring a lot of, um, like talent is like you bring a lot of other industry factors and other people and all of that together. So your reference point is, in my opinion, is just broader. It's just broader than mine.
Well, we're here because your story.
Mhm.
And it really means a lot to us to see your framework because that is what allows us to bring the story to light for others. We might have our own frameworks. That's great. We might have our own philosophies. Yes. But leaning on you for this story is really, there's something beautifully simple about it. It's that we get to bring your story for everyone else to relate to.
Well, thank you.
Speaking of for everyone else to relate to, if I were to ask you the question, who's this book for? How would you respond?
Oh, man, I think it's for everybody. I think it's for every belly button out there. Now, there's probably really good, deep, compelling parts of it. There's probably parts that just stank. Um, but as like you said too, Karen too, is and if we're just continuous learners, there's some nuggets in there,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and there's some keys in there, and you probably lock some crap up in a room somewhere. And maybe this book just gives you some keys. Just say, hey, I'm gonna unlock that, and I'm gonna walk in that dark, scary room, and I'm gonna look around. I'm gonna find the light switch, and I'm gonna turn it on. And that room is maybe it's not gonna have a door anymore. I'm gonna unpack it. It's almost like your garage. Well, now I'm going back to like I love cleaning my garage, and I've told this story before. Remember when your mom and dad asked you to clean your room? And
Yes.
remember those days when you took everything and you shoved it in the closet just to get out the door?
Under the bed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But remember maybe the one or two times where you really cleaned your room
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and your mom came in and she was like, wow. And you were proud to show her your room. And that's what the good, deep, hard, compelling work of working on our inner selves
Mm.
can bring our own individual joy. And then the joy of others, like, whoa. Because at the end of the day, what we're called to be is we're called to be attractive to others, not in a vain way,
Mhm.
but in a way where people look at us and say, you have something I don't have. How do I get that? How do I get that?
Called to be a light.
Correct.
Yeah.
But it's got to be authentic for it to be right. Energy attracts like energy. So yes,
Mhm.
I want what he's having.
Yeah. And what I just envisioned when you were explaining that to Scott is, because we have two ends of the spectrum here. We have perhaps the CEOs or the C-suite, right, who have been doing what they do and been leading for a long time. And, as we get to a certain point in our life, sometimes we can say, I know all that stuff, right? I don't need that. I know all that stuff. But what I hear you saying is, like, this is for you, right? No matter what, because we're always, as Karen says, we're always, wait, say it again,
Only,
Karen.
only, always, ever.
Only, always, ever learning. And so it doesn't matter where we are. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have these young leaders. I don't care whether they're titled or not, right? They have influence. So I can, think of my kids who are in their 20s. And so even they, right? Can have that sense of, I mean, I don't need to know that stuff, right? But even at how wonderful, and now that we're at the point we are in our lives, when we think about the opportunity for young people to read books like this, to prepare them for being able to show up in their most authentic way and to be, as I like to say, be a light to other people. So that's kind of like the whole spectrum.
You know, and challenging them when you see really like beauty come alive. I was on the golf course the other day, and this father I know was playing with his son. He's in law school at Miami. So I meet him, and I'm kind of like playing through him. So we're just kind of going through, and he said, "I want you to meet my son." He walks up to me. He takes off his hat. He sticks his hand out, and he said, "Nice to meet you, Mr. McGohan." And I'm sitting down a cart, so I get out of the cart and I touch it. There's something uncanny about human touch. I touch his shoulder, and I'm like, "Don't ever change." Like what you just did was such a massive sign of respect.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. But I'm telling you, the difference you can make in other people's lives in showing others what respect looks like. And I could see his dad out of the corner of my eye.
Oh.
I was like, I could just see it. I was like, oh, like his dad saw it and he heard that. Right. And so I could have just said hello. Does that make sense? Shake his hand, book, boom.
Yeah. But you
And
recognized him, right? Like you saw him.
yeah,
Or,
there's just
well, because he saw you.
yes.
Yeah.
Because there was a mutual connection at that very instant in moment in time that there was a deep connection. It had no words. It didn't have to have words. You were just present together.
Then I hit a 5-iron to about 20 feet, which felt pretty good.
So there you go. You were present.
Good job.
You were grounded. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I 3-putted for a bogey. That didn't make me very happy.
So
I get emotional.
Oh, it's all good. It's so good. So there's so much that we can dive into with this. And I really feel like maybe this is a good place just to wrap up even, the intro to what we're getting ready to dive into around your book, Scott. And perhaps this is a good place for me to ask the question, or how we say, let's go inside to our audience. When you just think about what we've talked about so far around what your book is, what you hope people get out, who this is for, what would you invite people to think about with regards to, any of that around, your book and what we've talked about so far?
I'm a big fan of journaling.
Mm.
Because I think anytime you can get these shenanigans out of our noggin onto paper, that they come alive. When they stay up there, they get cobwebs and things get super wonky. So if I was going to encourage somebody to do, I'm a big fan of T-charts too. So one side of the chart would be when I was little, and I had these dreams about who I was going to be. And I'm not talking about being a doctor or a lawyer or like that. I'm talking about who I wanted to be in regards to kindness, or I wanted to be a mom or a dad, or those sorts of things. Who did I want to be emotionally? Where was my happy place when I was little? And then the other side is where you are today. And in its rawness, as honest as you get on the left side, and as honest as you get on the right side, the truth is, it just comes alive. Mm-hmm. It's like, whoa. And the most important part is some people would say, well, I'm too old, or, I don't have time. Yeah, you do. Got plenty of time. Mm-hmm. So it's really looking at like the truth. And matter of fact, in every single chapter, it has those deep, compelling questions. Let's go inside. Mm-hmm. So they're just questions that ask yourself. We're all beautifully made. So we all have a different story. Mm-hmm. We all have different reference points, and they don't have to match mine. I don't have to match yours, but probably just begin around that deep, compelling work.
Be curious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great invitation. Thank you. Anything else to wrap us up, Scott or Karen?
No, but just thanks for having me. I really appreciate you too. I learn something every time I'm with you guys.
Same. Yep, absolutely. Karen?
Yeah, no, thank you. This is I feel like I'm enjoying the tag along, so thank you for having me.
We're all tagging along, right? Tagging along with each other.
Yeah.
Awesome.
My cuppeth runneth over today. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. And we will see you next time.